Hey, what's going on, everyone? We're going to pick up with chapter 28, getting into section 2, part 2. This will be the theme of the week. We're going to try to get this last unit done, hopefully by Thursday or so, as I got to start finalizing grades from Friday, and then we'll post review sheets in your final exam, which we'll talk about later. This is going to be a quick section. All right, you'll see it's section 2, part 2. I'll put up the section 2 homework for you, and you can get that homework done. But let me get through it. Okay. It's going to be real simple. We talked about the Cold War a while ago. Kind of chapter 25, 27, all kind of dealt with the relationship between the United States and the Soviet Union. And we're just going to finish that. So by 1989, the war in Afghanistan, which you'll see in the homework sheet, really takes a toll on the Soviet Union, and basically they're broke. Okay, their military spending, they can't compete with the United States. President Reagan is outspending them in the military. He's literally building the military up. So the Soviet Union is actually going bankrupt. Okay, they're starving. There's poverty. There's despair. So what ultimately happens is Mikhail Gorbachev takes over, and he adopts a policy of glasnost, which means he's going to start working with Reagan, with the United States, to ease tensions a little bit. What ultimately will happen is the Soviet Union will fall, Gorbachev will be taken out of power, and the Cold War will be over. Okay? Um, Here is Mikhail Gorbachev, the leader of the Soviet Union, the last leader of the Soviet Union. Here's President Reagan. Here they are having conversations, and they really did have a friendly relationship. They really did work together. They really did want to have a better relationship among countries. President Reagan wants to end the Cold War, and eventually it will happen. Okay. At the same time, by 1989, a lot of countries that the Soviet Union had taken over are starting to become democratic. They're starting to become free nations. And there's really nothing that the Soviet Union can do to stop that. And then ultimately in 1989, the Berlin Wall comes down, which is one of the biggest moments of the 20th century. And shortly after that, you'll see here by 1991, the Soviet Union dissolves. They democratically elect a new president. They rename it Russia. And now Russia and Boris Yeltsin, the new president, have to work through unemployment, crime, corruption. They've got to now create a new country. Okay? These are famous photos of the Berlin Wall coming down. If you remember back in chapter 25, we talked about the Berlin Wall and how it became the symbol of the Cold War. Well, in 1989, it comes down. Okay? Here you have Eastern Berlin and East German soldiers of the communist nation, the first time seeing the free democratic side on the other side. And here's President Reagan giving a famous speech there where he's challenging Mikhail Gorbachev to take this wall down, and eventually they will. Okay? Map on the left will show you the Soviet Union in red, the Warsaw Pact. Go back to chapter 25. This was that Iron Curtain that Winston Churchill talked about. East Germany, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria. The Soviet Union created a nice little barrier to protect themselves from everyone else. Well, over here, you've got Romania, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Germany, Poland, Belarus, Ukraine, three new countries in here, and then Russia's over here. So these countries all become democratic nations. Okay? Um, Obviously, we'll talk. You guys can read this. There's other things in other parts of the world that we need to talk about: Bosnia, Kosovo, other regions of the world that the United States now will shift their focus because the focus of the Cold War really is over. Okay, and the balance sheet: Cold War is going to last for 45 years. All right, the United States and the Soviet Union are going to compete with each other for everything. All right, we talk space race, arms race, everything. Over 100,000 Americans die in Korea and Vietnam and what's known as hotspots during the war. It's going to cost the taxpayers over $6 trillion in defense spending. That's huge. Okay, a lot of that still is trying to be paid off today. All right, and as the Cold War ends, all right, there's going to be new issues that come up following the Cold War. All right, the focus can shift now to other things throughout the world, and obviously that's going to be section 3 and 4. So I'm going to put up and here is one more. Here's Boris Yeltsin, the president of Russia. Here he is with President Bush. Here he is with President Clinton. Okay, and this is just a time frame of everything we've talked about in the Cold War. All right, Joseph Stalin, Nikita Khrushchev, Brezhnev, Gorbachev, all the other events that we talked about: Cuban Missile Crisis, Berlin blockade, Truman Doctrine, the Berlin Wall, Vietnam War, Afghanistan War, Korea. All of this stuff dealt with the Cold War. All right, so I'm going to put up the homework, section 2. All right, do it on the Google Doc sheet, turn it in, and as always, if you have any questions, let me know. Take care, guys.